Um, let's get cracking. Thanks, Luke. 52 people. That's good to see. So my little head should be in the corner now. You shouldn't be able to see me, and you should be able to see the title of our presentation here that we're doing. Obviously this is about the Overland track, which is located in the Cradle Mountain Lake Sinclair National Park. So if you haven't been to Tassie before, it's probably the most spectacular park, in my opinion, in Tassie. Um, it gets a lot of visitors, but you don't have to go. A lot of visitors sort of go to the Cradle Mountain area only. If you go a little bit further than that and you're willing to walk a couple of days, you get yourself immersed in some of the most incredible landscapes. So, where is the Overland track? So, it runs from either Ronnie Creek or Dove Lake at Cradle Mountain. So, the northern end of the park, you can either start at Ronnie Creek, which is the traditional start spot where the big sign is, or you can actually probably cut about 20 minutes off your time if you start from Dove Lake and go out that way. Either way, you get to the same point, which would be Marion's Lookout, which is the first sort of major obstacle to get to. It's an 85-kilometre track from start to finish, so from Dove Lake or Ronnie Creek all the way through to Lake Sinclair. It's a 85k track. The tours that I run, we don't do the last sort of 15, 20k, but we stop at Narcissus Hut and we catch a boat back over Lake Sinclair, which is a really, really cool way to finish off 5 to 7 days of hiking. When your legs are a bit sore and a bit tired, you get a nice boat ride over the end. Along the way, along the track, there's public huts, there's private huts, and there's camping platforms available each day. So if you're doing the tour as just a general punter, you can have access to the public huts, and you can also camp on camping platforms that are available. If you want to pay sort of $4,000 or $5,000, you can go with in a private tour with the private huts along the way. Now, those huts are separate from where the normal public huts are, so you don't actually you don't sort of mingle with the plebs, so to speak. You're in your own little private huts, which is why you pay a premium for them. Or you can camp the whole way where there's camping platforms available at each spot. My tours that I do, we use the commercial platforms, so we have sort of private camping platforms away from the public, and they're generally situated in the best spots along the track at each night's rest. So you get a really nice view from pretty much your tent door. You don't have to do too much. So when we're walking, you're going to see amazing mountains. You're going to walk through some amazing forests. There's some beautiful rivers and lakes and waterfalls. The whole entire track from start to finish, in my opinion, is pretty spectacular. And anyone who's done the walk before, I think they'd be hard-pressed to disagree with that. So it is pretty special. So the Overland track, as I said, it's in the Cradle Mountain Lake Sinclair National Park. So in this section here of Tassie, which is sort of the north, getting towards the northwest corner, and the track runs from north to south during the walking season. So the walking season's October through to May now, I think, or the end of April, and you can only walk north to south in that period of time. If you want to go between May and September, you can walk in any direction. There is also, if you're an absolute fitness nut and you want to run the track, they actually have a marathon that runs it in, I think they do it in about 12 hours. You've got to qualify by doing other types of runs and marathons, so to speak. So, but you can do it in 12 hours if you want, but that's only if you're crazy. So, moving forward, when's the best time to walk the track? You can walk it all year round, as I said. You can walk it through in the middle of winter or in the middle of summer. That's fine. What you can do in the winter is you can walk either way, like I said, either direction. But for summer's got some amazing wildflowers. The days are longer, so you generally can sort of really dawdle your way down the track each day without having to sort of race against the end of the day to get there. The weather's generally finer, but you will have lots more people on the track. It will be packed. So when we say packed, it means that you're not going to lose a spot in a hut or in a campground, but the huts will fill up quickly, and the platforms and the campsites, you'll end up getting, the less desired ones if you get there late. It's quite funny to watch every day in summer because we've got our reserve campsites where we are. You get up in the morning and everyone's just piss bolting off to go get their head so they can get to the next hut to get their hut or their campsite, and that to me defeats the whole purpose of doing the track because you're not racing time. You're not trying to get from one place to another as quick as time as possible. So the benefit of doing a trip with either myself or a tour similar is there's no rush. You've got a reserve spot every day. Autumn to me has to be probably the nicest time to walk the track. It's the colours are just amazing. You've got the deciduous beech, which is the Fagus plant. If anyone watched Tom Putt's presentation the other night on Cradle Mountain, he mentioned the word Fagus quite a lot. We'll try not to do it too much here, but it is a spectacular plant to see in the autumn colours. But the whole track in autumn is just, it's just littered with beautiful colours, and it's probably the best time for a photographer to go along because you can get a bit of snow and the weather can really play a bit as well, but you get those beautiful colours as you go along. Winter's pretty epic. You're in the middle of nowhere. It is a winter wonderland, but it's very cold and can be brutal / deadly. So if you're thinking of doing it in winter, you want to make sure you have some hiking experience, and not just hiking experience in nice weather. You want to be able to walk in blizzards, and you want to be able to walk up to potentially your waist in snow if they get a big storm coming through. Spring's another nice time to go. You're generally getting the weather's starting to get a bit nicer. There's still generally some snow on the mountains around. The rivers and lakes are all full, and you've got some more new blooms coming through, and the plants are starting to sort of regenerate again, which is really nice. But no matter what season you walk in, you need to be prepared for all kinds of weather. I've written all kinds of weather. There you go, bad mistake. All kinds of weather. So it can snow. I've been on the track where it's been snowing on January. I've been on the track where it's been, quite sort of mild when it should be quite cold. So it can change any time, and you need to be prepared for that. You need to be ready for it. We're a little bit blessed these days with weather forecasts. Give or take a few days out from the track. If you're taking a trip down there, you can sort of figure out what the weather's going to be, and they're pretty good. But you still need to prepare for all seasons. Overland, that's what I do. I have Overland track photo tours. So it's 6 days of hiking with us. I can supply you with the hiking gear if you need. So that's like your tent, your sleeping bag, your mattress, all that kind of stuff. You're hiking with 2 professional photographers. So I have another guide who's also a photographer. So if it's photography you're into and you want to learn landscape photography, the guides I use are all professional photographers. So you pop along and you're going to get some amazing tuition along the way. Small groups as well. We don't take big groups, so generally half a dozen people is the max we'll take, which means everyone gets plenty of time to talk. It becomes a really cool little group. We have a lot of fun, plenty of laughs. It gets a lot of fun during the track, because once everyone gets to know each other a bit more, it's quite good. As mentioned before, it's private camping platforms for each day, so we don't have to fight the time. We don't have to rush. We don't have to we don't have to do anything crazy in the morning. We can get up lazy, take our photos in the morning, have our breakfast, get ready, and then head on out knowing that we've got a spot at the other end for the next day. I also covers all your transfers, your parks and tracks fees, food, and all your equipment's provided. So I'll get to some of the details at the end of the presentation if you're interested in that, but it can be quite easy to get on there. So basic equipment needed if you're doing the track, you obviously need a tent. If you need to carry a tent regardless, because even if the huts are full, you need to be able to sleep somewhere, so you need to take a tent. Sleeping bags and mat, so you need to sleep on something and sleep in something. You need a hiking backpack to obviously take all your stuff in. Cooking stove, it's a fuel stove only area, so you can't light fires, you can't do anything like that. Hiking boots, obviously, hiking clothes, walking poles are good, and obviously your food. And I probably should put the camera down the bottom there as well. Can you do the Overland track? So a lot of times people ask whether or not they're actually capable of doing the Overland track. So in a word, there is no real official age limit. So you can, I've seen people that are as old as 82 years old, 83 years old. There was a wonderful Japanese guy who was on a tour and he wasn't even puffing up the hills. It was quite embarrassing for the rest of us. So anywhere from, I've seen 83-year-old and down to as young as 7. I think there's probably been younger ones on there. One of the trips we had a baby in one of the huts that had come in from a sidewalk. So it's open to all ages. The guests I seem to get range from mainly sort of mid-20s to about the 70s. I think the oldest person I've had has maybe just been early 70s. And again, they made it through plenty of training and away they went. Do you need hiking experience? Well, not necessarily, but having some sort of experience with long day walks is preferable, and some experience with overnight hiking with a pack. So we get a lot of people saying, I've done plenty of walks and stuff like that, but without carrying a pack on your back with the weight, it's a different story altogether. So you need to have a bit of experience with that. Not only does it make your journey a lot more enjoyable, it makes the group's journey a lot more enjoyable. If you're not trained up or you're not experienced, then you have a bit of a panic attack out there. It affects the rest of the group a bit. So we try and make sure everyone coming on our tours is well aware of what they're getting into. No major health issues as well, just due to the remoteness of the walk. Even though it's a very popular walk, the urgent medical supplies or urgent medical attention is still hours away. So all my guides and I are trained up in either first aid or remote first aid. But if you need serious help, it's a fair way away. So if you've got some really serious issues with your major health issues, then it's probably not the walk to do. Purely maybe just out of risk assessment that you might be putting it too much at risk. Do you need good knees and ankles? Well, I myself was actually born with club feet, so I've got some major issues with my ankles, lots of arthritis in my ankles, but I keep moving and it seems to keep me going okay. I've taken people down the track that have got sort of replacement fake metal knees and other issues in their lower back and sections of their lower body, and they've managed fine. It comes back to a lot of making sure that you just prepare yourself really well, and if you can prepare without having any concerns or injuries, then you can do this track. It's really all about the preparation. How much weight do you carry? Well, on my tours, most people carry around about sort of 15 to 20 kilos in their backpacks. If you're traveling with a friend or a partner, you can sort of almost not halve that load, but you can certainly spread the load to get yourself down as low as possible. Having said that, though, the first time I ever did the track, what was it? I think I had about 24 or 25 kilos and it almost killed me. Wasn't fun. So the gear I provide is generally mostly lightweight, so you can get on there pretty well. Camera gear can sort of take up a bit of weight as well, but anywhere up to 20 kilos is about right. And what gear do I need? As I said before, we can supply with all the essential gear needs that you need to complete the track. There are some people that like to purchase their own stuff who have obviously been hiking in the past or getting right into it. So if you do need gear, feel free to shoot me an email. I can advise you on what's best to get and what's not. Sounds like we're all going through okay. Doesn't seem to be any issues, which is good. I've heard some stories about Facebook Live mucking up a few times. My first Overland track was around about 17 odd years ago with friends and wife-to-be, Lisa. We just sort of started going out, so no better way to cement your relationship than go disappearing in the wilderness for 6 days. Since then, I reckon I've hiked it around about 20 times or so. I seem to lose count on how many people I've taken and how many trips I've done on my own and things like that. Every trip is certainly different. So people say, I've done the Overland track, you don't need to do it again. It's different every time. So different scenery, different weather. There's always track upgrades going or different things happening with tracks. Different flora and fauna. Everything's changing each season of the year. You get sun, wind, rain, snow, sleet, ice, heat. One of the first times in 2003 when I did the track, we had ice on day one and we were swimming on day two in a lake. That's how much it can change. So at the moment, I hike the track around about 2 times a year, but I would love to increase that to sort of 4 to 6 again, sort of get back out there a bit more. Had a little bit of a quieter period of doing the track, but I'd like to do it a lot more. It's just one of those things that every time we do it, it just gets better every time. The track is rated in the top 5 of multi-day walks in the world, so that's according to Lonely Planet. So it's not just Tassie promoting it as a good walk; it's world-renowned as a multi-day walk, one of the best ones in the world. And all the images and this are on the trip from my trips over the last 15 years or so. What goes up must come down is what I always say on day one. So you can see that I've just broken down the track. Day one, you can see it's a big clump of climbing. Day two is nice and short. Day 3 is the longest day you have, but relatively okay. Day 4 is up and over, Pillion Gap, and day 5 again sort of relatively short. And day 6 out to the boat is literally all downhill and very flat. But you can sort of see there straight away what they've done. They've put a big day, short day, big day, short day, bigger day, short day. So you sort of have a long day and then a bit of an easy day to break. So they've done it really, really quite clever on how they break it up. So you're never getting smashed 2 days in a row with walking. You generally get a day to chill out a bit. So day 1, Ronnie Creek to Waterfall Valley. As you can see that little section down there. I know Erin, who's watching, and her friends. I know Erin's been worried about this climb. And so you climb I think it's about 300 metres within the first sort of couple of K. So No lying, the first 2 to 3 Ks can be quite shocking to people. It can sort of bring them back down to earth really quickly. I've had people on the track who are super fit, and that's the biggest struggle they have for the whole trip, is getting up that first bit of day one. I've got other people who just breeze up there. So, you know what you're in for. You can see it pretty much from the start of the track, but it's well worth it. So the track starts at the classic sign. They've only updated this the last couple of years. It used to be another piddly little sign that they've now updated. So this is from Ronnie Creek. So you're starting from Ronnie Creek. This is where you generally get your group photo, and this is where you generally take off from. As Luke says, the first 2Ks is the hardest, but it's always good from there. I don't think you ever struggled up that bloody hill, Luke. So you start from here, and you're heading off Ronnie Creek, and as you over the back here, this is actually Marion's Lookout, and you sort of head up over this sort of way out the back here. It's a bit of a climb, but well worth it. So this is what you generally look at like at the start. You generally look all pretty happy and nice close bunch of people and feeling good about yourselves. Nice and clean, and you smell pretty good at the start as well. That changes within about maybe an hour or two. If you start down from Cradle Mountain, this is a classic shot that you get at Cradle Mountain. This is the track, but it leads off over to here. Again, there's a couple of ways you can go. You can climb straight up to Marion's Lookout, which is this peak up here. You can actually go up what's called the face track, or you can pop around the back of this sort of photo and come back via the normal route. Going up the front generally destroys you pretty early because you've got virgin legs and you've got really heavy packs to start with. So it's not advisable if it's your first time you're doing it, and you get some nice views going the other way. So take your time and go via Ronnie Creek. Before you take off, this is generally what your packs are looking like. This is one of the trips we did where it was just raining from day one. Pretty much, but I always like this. It's beautiful one day and then deadly the next, and that could not be more accurate. It can change really quickly, but that's the whole beauty of the walk. It's that you just don't know what you're in for. So walking off Ronnie Creek, it depends what conditions you have. You can see that first photo had beautiful blue skies. This trip we had sort of foggy conditions. Again, it all clears up. You never get 5 days of bad weather. You generally get a couple maybe, or you get all nice weather. First sort of stop we get to is Crater Falls, which is this beautiful little waterfall in the forest. We generally stop there. It's a good way just to reassess our packs to make sure everyone's packing okay. Make sure no one wants to go home straight away. Maybe even have a bit of a drink, take some photos before the real big climb starts. The next sort of stop you get to is Crater Lake, and if you get there in autumn colours, it is absolutely spectacular if you get a beautiful blue day like this one. Crystal clear water, and the other tree at the back, this is this Fagus tree we're talking about, so it changes all different colours. It's Australia's only winter deciduous tree, so it drops its leaves in winter and not autumn, so you get these amazing colours. And if you're lucky, you get views like this, which is pretty much from the top of the first climb. So that's Crater Lake. You can see there's a little bit of snow up there, but on a beautiful day, this is probably one of the most spectacular spots on the walk. It doesn't get much better than that. But from there, you've got to keep walking up. But you get views all the way of the beautiful Fagus. You can see there's a bit of snow. So this was sort of middle to late April, a couple of years ago, I think we did this one. As you get up, so Crater Lake, that's looking back down Crater Lake. Again, the Fagus colour is just spectacular. And on this time of year, it is pretty incredible all the way. The famous Marion Lookout climb up. This is the bit that generally gets people. It sort of thins out people from the weak to the strong really early. So this is the first major sort of climb we got up, and this is the chain section that was frozen for me in the very first time we came up here. This is my wife Lisa having a bit of a chuckle on the way up with the day pack. This is a steep climb, but this gets you up to pretty much the plateau of Cradle. It's a chain section, big steps, heavy bags, but you get up there. It's not too bad. That's sort of looking back down from the top section. So it's only about a 60 metre, 50 metre section of chain and climbing up, but with a heavy pack on the first day, it can get a little bit daunting, and it is quite a bit of a drop off in the back. So you want to make sure you're hanging on. We always say to people, make sure you've got 3 points of contact, so either 2 feet in one hand or 2 hands, 1 foot. Just make sure you're secure on that climb up. You don't want to fall backwards, especially with that weight on it. And that's one of the reasons why we say to people, make sure you've got experience with a pack, because it's different walking with a pack than it is without a pack. Once you get up to Marion's Lookout, which is just off to the left there, you can sort of see we're heading off. So this is Cradle Mountain. Marion's Lookout's just out to here, and we head off and keep going this way. So at this stage, you're sort of seeing plenty of people because Marion's Lookout's a really good little day trip. So lots of people there. And then we keep moving on. This is just up that track on a nice day. So once you get up to the top of the plateau, you see Cradle Mountain, which is obviously spectacular. But over the back here, you've got Barn Bluff, which is Tassie's second or third highest mountain behind Mount Ossa. So it's not a small rock by any stretch of imagination. What's Jonathan there? Walk around the other side. Crater Lake is awesome. Is that up the horse track? Is it the horse track? I think it's called up there. Yeah, that would be good. There's a private hut up there as well, I think, that you can rent out. So this is sort of the views from Marion's Lookout. Spectacular on a day like this. It's hard to pull people away. You know, on day one, you've got to take about 10 Ks under your belt with heavy packs. So getting people to pull away from this view when they're having a bit of a snack and a bit of a rest and getting their breath back, it takes a bit of convincing. So once you start heading down a bit further towards Cradle, again, if anyone saw Tom Putt's little presentation the other night, he explained it really well about the Cradle Mountain. So Cradle Mountain just looks like a sort of a thin wedge at the front from the classic view, but it actually stretches all the way down around this side here. So it heads down there for a good couple of K. So it's almost like a big cauldron from one side and a big rock wall from the other. So you seem to follow that down for a while, but you're heading towards Barn Bluff. Where you're camping tonight, first night, is down in that gully there. So Kitchen Hut is probably where we generally have lunch on day one. It's a good spot to take the packs off if you get a nice sunny day. It can be brutal there though. I've been in some situations there where it's just, you know, head down, bum up, let's keep going, because it's just absolutely brutal with the weather. But if you get a day like this, it's absolutely stunning. So after you've finished having your lunch, so this is Kitchen Hut in the background, we're walking away from Kitchen Hut now, so heading towards Barn Bluff. This is where the crowd starts to sort of fall off a bit depending on what time of year you're going on the Overland track. You generally have crowds going up to Cradle Mountain Summit, which is a different way, but you seem to, that's sort of the point where you feel like, okay, we're actually on our adventure now, we're leaving this Kitchen Hut and we're going where no one's sort of gone before type of thing. So you're heading off. The track consists of either, like you saw before, some big steps and chains, boardwalk, rocks, roots, mud, old boardwalk, skinny logs that move when you stand on them, or chicken wire on top of the boardwalk. There's lots of different sort of terrains you walk over, which is good. They've done a lot of track work since the first time I've done, like heaps. It's certainly changed a lot in the last 15 odd years for the better. So a lot of the muddy sections are now not as muddy, and a lot of the boardwalks, proper boardwalk, nice and solid and things like that. So this is keep heading towards Barn Bluff. We're going alongside, so Cradle Mountain's sort of off to the left over here. But when you get a bit closer to Barn Bluff, you start seeing the Pillion Ranges and Mount Ossa and all the cool bits that you're going to see in the next few days. So you really sort of get a beautiful view, an overview of where you're going. You get a few little things along the way, little skinks and little snakes, and you also get echidnas. If you don't see an echidna on this trip every time, it's incredible if you don't. They're everywhere. Wombats, possums, paddy melons, wallabies, you name it, they're on the track. This is further down the Cradle Mountain, so just to give you a size of the scale there, that's another great photographer, another Tassie photographer named Jason Stevens, who's on one of our trips. Just getting a big look at this big side wall of Cradle Mountain is quite impressive. Big panorama. Just before you start to head down into Waterfall Valley, you get some beautiful views again. Barn Bluff is, it's almost like which is this mountain over here, it's like a beacon pretty much for the whole trip. You can pretty much see that until the last couple of days. It's always good to look back on and see how big Barn Bluff is. Again, a real feature of day one. Barn Bluff, and you've got this beautiful pencil pine, little forests all the way, and you've got some, this must have been in summer because that's the Fagus that hasn't changed colour there. And again, you get some beautiful reflections on these little tarns on the way into Waterfall Valley. So if you get the right light and the right angle, you get some pretty spectacular shots there. That would have been the same autumn trip with all the Fagus, I think. And once you get down into Waterfall Valley, it sort of flattens out a bit. So once you get into Waterfall Valley, you're done for the day, and you're sort of in this big basin where you've got Barn Bluff and this big sort of wall, rock wall or I guess you call like a bit of a cauldron around the top of you there. It's a really good feeling to get into that first night after a big day's walk, depending on what the weather and how that's treated you. It can be, really a blessing in disguise. Getting down there after a big day of walking, you walk down and you're just there. It's a great feeling. You set up camp and then you can go explore around all the little areas there. And most nights, if the weather's good, you get that open glow on the back of the mountain there. It's just a spectacular camping spot. Our commercial camping spots are just up this path to the right here. There's a little hut actually here, and then the main hut's back up the track, probably where that lady's walking to, along with the toilets and things like that. But it's a spectacular view from the top, from the campsite there, up the top there. Over there, blizzard came in for Paul. Yeah, kitchen hut's brutal, mate. If you get a blizzard there, Min, I hope you get the camp. Yeah, it is tough to keep people moving along when you're taking photos. So yeah, the good thing about the Overland track for photographers is that each night where you stay is almost the best part of each day for photo wise. So you can stop and take happy snaps as you're walking along, but when you get to camp, that's when the real stuff's really nice. So, but yeah, you can see the campsites are pretty ordinary. Waterfall Valley has a few waterfalls. So this is Brannigan Falls, which is just off down the track a bit further. Usually we visit that. If it's a hot day, you can sort of go swim in there or get under the shower itself if you're brave enough, if you're there in summer. And all around Barn Bluff, all around the fields of Barn Bluff, you've got these beautiful little tarns and little grass areas and things like that. Make some really cool shots if the weather's nice. That on the snow will be really cool. There's a thing called a native Tasmanian hen there. We had Craig, who's from Arizona. I don't think he's tuning in, but he was on one of the trips. He's been in one of these photos. He got chased by one of these. Must have been nesting somewhere, and I think he called it the Roadrunner for the rest of the trip. It's really funny. And then every now and then you find these little pockets in Waterfall Valley where you got these little pandanus and a bit of snow. I think this might have been close to where we camped. Just some beautiful, beautiful plants along the track as well. Sometimes you get snow on the track, sometimes you don't. But that's a good example of what the camping platforms look like. They're raised platforms where you can sort of put one or two tents on each platform. That's probably half the size of the one that's at Waterfall Valley up in the forest there. It's not a bad place to wake up to. And then, depending on what you get as a sunset, you get some nice colour as well. So this might have been a late afternoon sunset. Looks like it might be sort of spring or getting into early summer from the same sort of spot but different colour. Hey Ian, thanks for tuning in. Waterfall Valley is amazing. It's great. And the quolls, Chris, the quolls are very cheeky. The possums, I got a brand new $700 tent ripped to pieces by a possum at Lake Windermere. Needless to say, he might have been forcefully asked to leave my tent with a fist. Day 2. So that's day 1. So you've pretty much finished day 1. You've set up your camp. You're sort of getting a little bit into the groove of it. You understand what sort of walking with a pack feels like. You understand pretty much what the scenery is going to be like for the next 5 days after that. You're probably going to get used to your camp food, depending on what you take, whether or not it's hydrated food or a bit of fresh food or a bit of both. But it's a good feeling to be in Waterfall Valley on that day 1. Day 2, as you can see, day 2 is pretty short and relatively sort of undulating. It's not a big climb like it is the day before. Day 2 is awesome. Day 2 you can leave. You can sort of leave almost early afternoon and get through to Lake Windermere, no problem. So if you're really tired from day 1 or a bit sore or you're sucking up some blisters on the back of your foot there, you can really take your time that next morning and get into Windermere later in the afternoon. This is a shot I took from one of the first tours I did. A friend of mine gave me a kick in the tent and said, "You want to put your head out and take a photo?" So that's literally out my tent door from when we camped down at Waterfall Valley, but it's just all these steaming clouds coming up over Barn Bluff. And funnily enough, that happens a lot there. I've got about 4 or 5 different photos similar to that each time I'm there. Just another sort of view of the platforms. You can sort of see they've got a wiring system, so you don't need pegs when you're camping on the platforms. So everything's wired in. You just hook up your tent ropes and things like that. They've actually improved it now. They've got a chain system that's sort of retractable into the platform. It's a lot better than the steel wire that used to sort of give you splinters and crap like that. It's not great fun, but they've improved it a lot. This is a little track out of Waterfall Valley from our campsite. It's a beautiful little spot. This is on the way out again. This is behind those Brannigan Falls. This is on our way out in the early morning. Snuck behind there and got a shot. Again, you got the Fagus and these beautiful Pandanus, which grow in Tassie as well. One of the classic shots you get, or one of the classic scenes you get, probably only 10 minutes from Waterfall Valley, is looking back at Barn Bluff, and you've got this beautiful old pencil pine that's actually been split. I think it's been split by just age and maybe a bit of rotting. So you can sort of look at there and look back at Barn Bluff and get a beautiful shot. They've got a lot of character, those trees. Here's a client taking a shot probably of that tree from behind the other end. Again, just to give you a scale of how big Barn Bluff is, it's pretty incredible. How do we keep our batteries full, Chelsea? Luke. So people can see the comments there. Luke making comments. Luke's actually one of my guides, so he knows the track pretty well. But yeah, take a few batteries or a power brick or a USB charger. Chelsea, you use Olympus cameras. I can get through the whole track on 2 batteries, no problems. Button grass. So there's a lot of button grass on the Overland track. So this is when the little button actually blooms into a flower. But button grass is quite dominant along the whole track and makes for some pretty cool photos. Gets some beautiful light through it, and it sort of brings out all the colours. So day 2, we're heading up towards Lake Windermere. So again, a lot of boardwalk on today. Day 2 is easy. I reckon that's the easiest day. It's an easy stroll of about 7 Ks. There's a couple of little climbs, nothing like day 1, and a lot of boardwalk, so which is good. So even in really, really poor weather, it works pretty well. Again, little details you get along the way. These little ferns seem to hold the droplets a lot. It's a very common shot you can get along there. You got to look for detail along this track. So there's all these big grand scenes of how beautiful it is, but there's so many little cool little things along the way with textures and patterns and little things happening like this with the drops. It's you got to keep your eye open. And then Flick's on there, Flick and Dave. Flick's also another guide of mine. So if she's got any questions, you can answer them. I'll let you guys answer them. You guys got it under control there. Here's my beautiful wife, Lisa, really enjoying day 2, although it doesn't look like it. So this is sort of getting towards Lake Windermere, and this is the backside of Barn Bluff, and over here in the corner you've got Cradle Mountain. So again, you can sort of see that Barn Bluff is a bit of a beacon. There is a lake, Lake Will, which is a little side trip that goes off there. It's only about a half-hour walk there and back. That's also good to check out, as well as a really small day trip, side trip on that day. Here's Mr. Jason Stevens. He's enjoying his very first time on the Overland track. Looking back again, this is Waterfall Valley in here with Barn Bluff and Cradle Mountain, which doesn't look anything like Cradle Mountain from this angle. It almost gets overtaken by Barn Bluff as the most pretty mountain on the track there. A little video, hopefully this works. This is almost from that same spot that Lisa, a couple of shots back, was. This is on one of our trips. Luke was on this trip. So you can see we had beautiful weather. This is the start of what the next 24 hours is going to be like for us. But we got there. Head down, bum up. Just keep walking. I think that's Luke in the middle. So yeah, we kept walking. We had a blizzard come through. That was in November. We did expect it to come through, but not as crazy as it did. But it made for good fun. So this is just before you start coming into Lake Windermere. So this is Lake Windermere here. You get this beautiful view up the top here. This little tree on the top makes for a good little foreground focus. You can actually see where you've got to go. You can see the track down here. But then, like I said, this is only a couple of hours into the walk for that day. It's a very easy, short day on day 2. Again, attention to detail. There's little lichen rocks and little bits and pieces of plants. They make up some really cool sort of topics to shoot from. And that's the view from the top. Again, if you get a clear day, it's one of the best views of the track as well. So Lake Windermere down the bottom. You got Pillion West here, and then you got Mount Ossa here. You got a few more mountains over in the background, but you can see the track runs down that sort of right-hand side. If it's a clear day, it's a beautiful view, and it really shows you where you're going to go. So at some stage, you've got to go over those mountains. You've got to get on the other side of the mountains to start getting down to Lake St. Clair. Same spot at sunset. We walk back up there for sunset if we need to. Excuse me. Just the reflections in the lakes, and I think that's Mount Murchison out on the west coast. yeah, another beautiful mountain to go climb if you're in Tassie. At Lake Windermere, you got some beautiful old gums. It's probably one of the best spots along the track for these beautiful winding gums, and also like the twisty bark and patterns in the trees. It's a really beautiful spot. And for some reason, Lake Windermere seems to produce the nicest sunsets and sunrises for me on my trips. So this is a sunrise at Lake Windermere with Barn Bluff in the background. This is with Flick. So this is the first time Flick did the track with me. She came along and she was blessed with this on her second morning. Some people don't see this all the time, but it was pretty spectacular. Not a breath of wind. It was freezing cold. Nice little sort of thin layer of fog, but you just get these beautiful scenes every time. Pretty much looking at your camp door, if you're in the commercial groups, this is where the platform looks at. So Barn Bluff, obviously again big feature, and you've got these beautiful gums lining all around Lake Windermere. Again, just that afternoon sun just comes through and lights that whole area up. It's a really beautiful spot. And then if you're lucky in the morning, you get the same thing coming from the other angle. It seems to light it up. And again, you've got these beautiful big gums and Barn Bluff getting that nice little morning glow on it. It's a beautiful spot. And like I said, after you've done a short day, if you are a photographer and you want to get the best out of day two, you can either. My advice would be to leave Waterfall Valley sort of in the afternoon and get all that late afternoon light coming through, because it is only 7 k's and it's relatively flat. You can sort of power through if you need to get to camp. But you get some beautiful views and some beautiful colours coming through there. So the day we had the blizzard, that's the next morning, or the same sort of day. Luke and I were, a funny story, Luke and I were camping on another platform. We were the guides, and because we're a commercial group, we can't use the huts. So even if it's absolutely blizzarding down, we cannot use the huts. We have to camp. We had a little bit of a discussion with one of the rangers there about eating in the hut, and he didn't want us eating there, and we sort of said, well, bad luck, we're going to eat because it's safe and the smart thing to do. But we had all our guests, and our guests were dead keen on sleeping out in their tents in the snow. So Luke and I woke up in the morning in our tents, and I remember we said to each other, I'm sure they're dead. At least one of them's dead or something like that. It was really, really cold. It's a bit of a joke. And we got up and we could hear them giggling with joy. They just had such a cool night. Not literally, they had such a good night's sleep, and they woke up to this absolute winter wonderland. It was absolutely incredible. So this is the video of where we were that morning. So this is the next day after that blizzard. So it was very still. This is probably about 7 or 8 in the morning. But yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. You can see as you walk along the track on conditions like that, the pandanus, with the snow in them, just makes for amazing photos. And the track, because you've got boardwalk and it's got all chicken wire to stop you slipping, you don't really need snowshoes on a light sort of dusting like that. Thicker snow, you'd need the snowshoes, but on a day like this, you don't. That's a bit of a side view. You can see how much the platforms are raised. So you're not on the ground, you're quite high off the ground as well. But all these little families of pandanus just look spectacular under the snow. Yeah, we were giggling a lot too, Paul. We knew that we'd sort of hit the jackpot with conditions. I guess our number one concern was that the guests were still breathing, which they were. They had plenty of warm stuff; they were fine. But yeah, we were pretty happy about it. And Erin, I don't know, maybe October. It snows in October. You never know. Same morning with Flick, I think it was. Actually, it was a different tour with Flick, or Felicity, as she's mostly known. Looking back at Barn Bluff, and there's a pencil pine in the foreground, and just that reflection. Again, Barn Bluff with snow on it just looks spectacular. And again, you sort of start walking out from Lake Windermere, and you get these beautiful pandanus and the button grass and the snow, and big fat flakes of snow are really cool. Back up at the lookout, looking down over Lake Windermere, we actually had a very small aurora that we got a photo of. So the Southern Lights is just down there. It's very, very faint. But this is looking sort of southwest down there. But sometimes if you're lucky, if Flick and I on our first night back at Waterfall Valley, we'd been up and aware there was one of the biggest auroras they had in many years happened when we were on the track, and we didn't even know about it. So we missed out. But the next night, this is sort of the view we sort of got. But clear skies. If you like your astrophotography, make sure you take a tripod and get up early in the morning or late at night and just look up, because I don't think you get clearer skies or brighter skies than anywhere else down there. So these are shots, Lauren. These are shots from all over the season. So there's no one particular time. So these are all over the shop. These are 15 years of shots, pretty much. So there's no real theme to what time of year it is in these shots here. The snow min was November, mid-November, I think it was. So day 3. So you've done day 2, nice and easy, nice and short. You're thinking you're pretty good. You're feeling pretty good about yourself after day 2 because you've got into camp. It's a short day. You've probably had a bit of time to explore around the camp and really, stretch out, get your tent up, have a read of the book, have an afternoon snooze or whatever you're doing. Day 3 is completely opposite. Day 3 is the longest day, and I wouldn't say it's the hardest day, but it's got a couple of climbs in there. I've actually done that wrong there. It doesn't go to Pillion Gap. It only goes down to here, Pillion Hut. It's a long day, but you don't get that line in there, so it really should only just go to there. But it's a long day, and you need to get going early on this day because it can take a while. So in the morning at Lake Windermere, again, if you get really beautiful mornings, you get all these spider webs and things like that with this golden sun. Again, I've had a lot of luck at Lake Windermere with weather-wise. It's been good. That's the morning at Lake Windermere. Again, that's the commercial platforms. Again, you can see we're nice and spread out. You're quite a way around from the hut, so you don't have people coming down and annoying you. You've really got the place to yourself. And if you're lucky, you get the sun on your tent in the morning. There's no better feeling after a cool night's sleep, just to get that warmth coming through your tent. And it's hard to drag people out of the bed on this day if you get a morning like this, but you sort of do need to get on the track. I try to get our groups on there no later than sort of 9 o'clock in the morning just to get it there, because you've probably got a good 8 hours of walking or so ahead of you. So it does take a little bit of time, but yeah, you need to get up and get moving. Here's another one of my guides, Chris. I don't think Chris is tuning in. Chris he doesn't guide anymore. He actually drives a minibus for me and does all our transfers for us. But he's a big unit and he's a funny guy, and we had an absolute blast doing the trip with him. But you can see there, whatever time of year it is, he's got shorts and t-shirt on, and he was quite fine. He's walking across Pillion Plains, and that's Pillion West in the background, and Mount Ossa over the back here. Keep in mind, we've got to walk over these mountains at some stage again. Like I said, attention to details. These little mossy walking poles or track poles, I reckon they make really cool. I think it's called Old Man's Beard moss that's on these little posts. They're probably pretty old, but they just make for great photos. Same track as where Chris was 2 frames ago, different day. Complete white out, complete fog out, but still beautiful. You're a little bit unlucky on day 3 if you get bad weather, because day 3 you walk pretty much in amongst all the mountains, left and right of you. So you really want to get views on day 3. If you don't, then you've got to come back and do the track again. That's the rule. So again, you're just walking across these plains for a while before you dip into the forest, before you get into the Pillion Hut. One of the soul-crushing parts of the track is it's almost 17 Ks on day 3, but you get around about sort of 4 Ks in, and you can actually see the hut. The hut's actually over around the back of this hill here, but from part of this track here, you can actually see the hut. So you can see where you're going, but you've just got to go the long way around getting it. As the crow flies, it's probably only a couple of K away, but you've got to walk around. But it's worth it because you go through some beautiful forest and some beautiful scenery. Again, you can see the boardwalk and lots of button grass on the Pillion Plains. It's really nice to walk through, and especially get some beautiful days. The colours that come out of those button grasses are amazing. Again, it's a fairly flat day until the biggest part of this day is the climb into camp. The rest of it's sort of just up and down with a few little climbs. It's not too bad. But the views on this day, like I said, are really good. This is Mount Oakley in the background. Mount Oakley becomes a really dominant mountain for the next day while you're walking in there. And then I think Mount Ossa's under snow there as well. More, as you can see, there's a lot of walking through mountains, which is pretty cool. That was one of the cold trips. I think that might have been the one with all the snow. That was the next day, so it melted off pretty quick, apart from on the mountains. But I think we've got a video of what it was like. That's heading again on some boardwalk. So that's a different type of boardwalk. It's not that It's not the big. You can see it's the same there, but it's not the big wide boardwalk that you get here. It's more of an older boardwalk. So you just got to keep in mind when you're walking that the width of the track changes all the time. So it's almost like a train sometimes when you're going along, and they change gauge of what the train track is. Sometimes you've got to be a bit more conscious that, okay, I'm not on this wide track. I've got to actually keep my feet a bit closer together and not wander and not sort of straggle along. That's the same Pandeni that was earlier before without the snow. It's a nice shot I like to do halfway along the way. And here's a little video of us walking in sort of yucky weather across the Pillion Plains. So sometimes you get weather like this, and it's just, like I said, it's head down, bum up. You just walk through. There's still plenty of photo ops for our groups to do that. But if you're not doing a photo tour and you're just walking along, you don't want to get stuck in that kind of weather, even though it's sort of cold and miserable. Keep moving if you can. Pine Forest Moor is where the entrance to all this sort of button grass starts from. So someone just carved in there, Pine Forest Moor, which is pretty cool. Then you sort of climb up over this mountain, this little hill here. More Pandeni. To me, they make really good portrait shots. I love Pandeni. They're like something out of the Muppets, the animal with the bloody hair coming out of his head. That's what I like. There's a little Pine Forest Moor goes over this little knoll of forest, and it's a really beautiful bit of forest. So it's only about a 1 or 2K section. It's probably a 2K section of forest. It's up and over this little sort of knobby thing. It gets pretty slippery in there, and you sort of get a bit of another idea of what sort of track conditions you get. So getting more into forests, you get this rocky, rooty sort of track, as opposed to boardwalk. There is some boardwalking sections, as you'll see, but these sections are the ones that do my ankles in the most because they're sort of slippery, tree roots and things like that. And I've learned that walking poles are an absolute must on this track. I did probably 10, 12 years of no walking poles, and then bought walking poles and kicked myself for the previous decade. But yes, it's a beautiful spot, and if you get some fog in this forest, it really works really well for photos. Again, some changing colours of the plants along the way. Again, you can see the rocky sort of slippery rocks there you've got to be careful of. But then again, there's also boardwalk through some of this forest as well. So this is getting out of that little forest on the other side. There is a private hut just at the end of this track, which is one of the private huts that people use on the more expensive tours. Looking at Mount Pillion West again, beautiful views, and these old beautiful pencil pines scattered along this bit of the track is really nice as well. So literally this is just outside the forest we've just walked out of. You walk out and you're right next to that mountain. It's a pretty good view. Another little video, this is the same trip of that really big snow blizzard. This is only 3 hours after we woke up, and you can sort of see that it's mostly melted off. Everyone's alive, everyone's having fun. I forget, sadly I hope he's not watching, but I forget the man's name in this photo, but he was one of the funniest guys we had on the trip. Had his 2 daughters and himself. He had a blast, really nice guy. Again, these beautiful pencil pines, I love them. They're a bit like the Pandenis, they just have heaps of character and they sort of stand out on their own. This is Mount Oakley in the background, another quite dramatic mountain. It's all dolerite, so all the mountains through Cradle Mountain National Park are all dolerite mountains. So it's just big shoots of rock, and they all fall and crumble and make really cool patterns and really dramatic sort of Jurassic type landscapes. He's a friend of mine, Roz. She came on the trip. Only girl on the trip of 6 boys, I think it was. Needless to say, she held her own and then some. Had a blasted time with her. She was really good fun and became good friends. That's the other thing I love about this track is that the friendships you make and the camaraderie that you get along this track. Usually the first day everyone's a bit quiet and sort of sussing each other out. But by day 2 and 3, you're right into it and everyone's getting on really well and exchanging stories and sort of feeling the group and things like that. And I've made some absolutely amazing friendships out of that. There's many of them on this watching tonight as well. It just forms that sort of camaraderie. You're in it together. If someone hurts himself, you've got to share your load out and lighten their load a bit. Or if someone's struggling, you give them a bit of a perk up. Or someone's really funny, they might bring the trip, bring the group along for the day if they're having a lot of jokes and things like that. So it's amazing to see the human spirit on this track when someone is struggling or when people are having a great time. A bit more forest, as you see, just a bit more example of the rocks. And, you take your time down these sections. It's not a race. You can make up your time if you're on this day, especially day 3, because it's a long day. You can make up time along the way if you need to. There's Luke hanging out as he does, walking the track. So this is, again, coming out of the forest area on boardwalk. He doesn't look like he's struggling at all. This guy struggled a bit on the way down the track, but he made it. That's the main thing. And he had a ball doing it. Again, some of the big old trees that you get, the root systems, they just spread out so much. I find it's really cool as well just to take photos of these big root sections here. Again, this is near the Forth River, so this is getting towards camp. You get these amazing root systems spread out, and it's impossible not to take a cool photo of those along the way. But they are amazing structures, these trees. They're really old and ancient. The Forth River is actually an old glacial path that runs all the way out to Bass Strait. You cross this little stream here, which is called Forth River. It goes into, obviously, this huge mouth of a river out to Bass Strait as well. More examples of just on the way up to Pillion Hut here. You've got some pental pine forests and myrtle forests that you walk through, and you've got this beautiful boardwalk. This is all new, this boardwalk, so if you've ever done the walk before, from Frog Flats, where we were just a second ago, it used to be a muddy trip all the way up. They've put boardwalk probably 50% of the way up there now, so it's a big difference in time. It saves you about probably 35, 40 minutes. And when you get to camp, you're just spoilt with side views of Mount Oakley. So this is pretty much from the hut veranda at Pillion Hut. If you get a beautiful snowy day like this, it just makes for a beautiful photo. Again, it's one of those spots, Pillion Hut, where you seem to get really good weather, and with really good weather in a way, dramatic weather for photography. So you either get really nice, beautiful light in the afternoon or morning, or you get some dramatic skies and snow and things like that. And again, you get some cracking sunsets there as well. Again, this is Barn Bluff, and then you see a little bit of the back of Cradle still. So just to give you an idea of how far you've walked, that's Cradle Mountain, then Barn Bluff, and then Mount Oakley. So it's almost like these little pillars along the way that you sort of use as landmarks. And another sunset just with Barn Bluff in the back, just some beautiful clouds. This is all pretty much from the hut, or the helipad of the hut. And again, this is a late evening with a big moon and some stars rising in the background there. And then in the morning, you get the light coming from the other way. You get this beautiful morning glow coming off Mount Oakley. In the foreground, it's all button grass plains as well. So it sort of goes button grass into gum trees, into this beautiful mountain. And you'll see that you get some really cold mornings. You get a lot of fog and even frozen button grass in the morning. That makes for a really cool shot, just with that nice, beautiful morning glow on Barn Bluff. And a few little pental pines over there on the left. But it gets cold. That was a very, very cold morning there. But yeah, the early bird catches the worm with photography. If you're up early enough and you get the conditions, it makes for some beautiful shots. So this is the Pillion Hut. So this is taken from the little helipad. So it's the biggest hut along the way. So if you're going to go do the track by yourself or with some friends, Pillion Hut's the one you want to stay in. It's actually got about 4 or 5 different dormitories all set up in that hut. It's pretty rare that you won't get a bunk at this hut if you come through there. But even still, even if you're not going to camp in the huts, go have a look at it. It's a beautiful hut, and it's got a beautiful veranda out the front to view Mount Oakley with. Here's Chris again, being an idiot. Like I said, we had plenty of laughs on this trip. He's a big unit, and then he's put his puffer jacket on. But we have a bit of fun. Nothing like wearing sandals and socks to be a fashion statement. But this is the Pillion campsite where he is there. This is the helipad. So generally, that's where people just chill out if there's no helicopters coming. Of course, this is where they chill out and just watch the world go by. In the morning, you can dry out your clothes there and things like that. Or I think this lady's reading a book. Got some of my mates here, photographers. These guys were, I think they were a European couple. They were quite friendly. We had one trip where a guiding company, another guide company, one of their guides, actually, she's a doctor as well. It was a she. She was a doctor, and she self-diagnosed that she had some kidney failure going on or something quite serious. So they brought the chopper in, quick smart. So yeah, they got her out pretty quick. To their credit, though, obviously being the company they are, they brought her back. They brought a guide in, so there's actually a guide in that helicopter replacing her as well. So that was pretty cool. I'm just going to check one thing. I think I've lied, and hopefully I haven't lost people, but it's just not showing on my screen here at the moment. How do we get in here? Let's make sure it's all working still. Yep, seems to be good. Excellent. Yeah, so they brought another guide in, swapped her over, and she went out. From all reports, she was fine. She just had to go to hospital and get a few things. But as I said at the start as well, with things like your medical conditions, if you've got something serious underlying, it's probably, it's not a spot you want to be stuck in. From memory, it took a good 2 or 3 hours at least to get that helicopter organised and get them in there. So you don't want to be playing with risk out there. We do a lot of risk assessments to run our businesses there, and we do a lot of checking of people beforehand as best we can. Obviously people need to be honest with us, but we do our very best to make sure that people coming along are well and fit. So this is the Pillion, the campsite. This is one of the bigger sort of commercial platform sites. You can see the huts just in the background. So you're never too far from a hut. The toilets are always near the huts, and the water tanks are always near the huts as well. But this is us all preparing a nice little meal. And that's sticking our head out at night at the tent, looking up, taking some nice sort of astro shots above the trees. A couple of little galaxies there, and the Milky Way's probably rising behind these trees. I didn't plan that too well. Sometimes we get bored at night. We'll do some little sort of light painting things, or turn everyone's head torches into tents and get the different colours. And this is my brother-in-law who came on a trip, and he's swinging around an LED light that he brought with him. So it just makes for a pretty cool effect. And from the helipad, so this is with a good friend of ours, Mike, who did message me about this live cast. I'm not sure if he's tuning in, but he's from over in America. We met him on the track, him and his wife, a couple of years ago, Flick and I, and we became really good friends. He's come out to Tassie again, and we've taken him out a few other times to different places, but we shot the Milky Way behind the back of the hut here. It was a really beautiful night. So that's day 3. So you can see day 3 is quite a long day. There's lots to see, lots to do. And then you get into camp after a big day. You're pretty sore and tired, but a good meal, good hydration, and you're back to it again. Day 4 is off to, I sort of call this the up and over, this one, mainly because you can see by the map down the bottom, you're up and you're over. So you're going up to Pillion Gap, which is probably one of the most spectacular views along the whole, if not the most spectacular view along the whole track. It's a big climb up and a fairly easy climb down, but it's a short day. It's only 8 Ks. Generally takes around about sort of 3 to 4 hours, give or take. This is the spot that you would do if you were going to do a side trip to Mount Ossa, which is the highest mountain in Tassie. So if you're going to go do Mount Ossa, you need to get up early and get that done. Mount Ossa takes a good 2 hours or 3 hours return from the turn-off. And it can be quite sketchy in bad weather. If it's foggy at the top or there's big snow in the gully, you can see from the Pillion Gap. Generally don't recommend going up there. But if you get a fine day and you're competent, then it's well worth it. So this is sort of track. You can see this is old boardwalk, or getting old boardwalk. It's a little bit slipperier, a little bit more worn. So you get that on the way out of Pillion Gap. Beautiful pandanus. You get a couple of really good examples on the way up to Pillion Gap of the big pandani families. You get a sort of almost like a pandani grove for a few hundred metres. It's good for photos. Tasmanian waratah. We have waratah down here. They look really good on this part of the track as well if you get them. So we're going from Pillion Hut to Kiora Hut today, up and over the Pillion Gap. And this is a beautiful little spot on the Douglas Creek. You can see this beautiful little waterfall, beautiful pandanus, amazing moss section along this. It's a sort of about a 400-metre section of mossiness. That's really quite good. Little paddy melon. They're always quite friendly. Generally, we don't feed any animals on the track as per normal. Again, probably mention as well that also have that leave no trace policy as well. So whatever we take in, we take out. So if you can't put it in the decomposing toilet, so leftover food and stuff you can generally put down the toilet, but all the wrappers, everything extra goes out in your bag. nothing gets left behind. And sadly, most trips we generally end up picking up a bit of rubbish on the way that someone's dropped out of their pack or whatever. But we're very conscious of making sure there's no litter left behind on this track. This is this same little section. So the first photo was up the top here, but this is this whole little section down here. It's a really beautiful little section. It's a stone's throw from camp on Pillion Hut, so it's really easy to get to, but it's just beautiful. And this is a little video that I did just of it. So the good thing about this track as well is you can drink straight out of that river. You can treat your water if you need to, but like the amount of times I've done this track, I've never had to treat water once. You can just drink along the way. It's and it's the freshest water in the world. It's coming straight off the top of the mountains. It's really nice. This is looking down upstream a bit further from those little waterfalls. It's sort of like these little slates that run down the river. This is that snowy trip we had. This is part of the forest on the way up to Pillion Gap. Again, you get some big pencil pines, and you can see this is all just track. It's not necessarily boardwalk. So on snowy conditions, it can get a bit muddy on that section. Up the top, though, after you've got your lungs back and everything's going well, no, it's not a cider, Erin. It's actually just a Pepsi Max. I probably should have a cider. Once you get up to Pillion Gap, you get all these beautiful views. So you've got Cathedral Mountain here. Camp for tonight is down at Kiora, which is down in this little gully bit. But once you get up the top, it's 360-degree views of absolute majestic mountains. Really, really nice. And if you get a fine day, it's almost impossible to leave up the top here. Really cool. Walking down, a little bit of scattered snow as well. It can be brutal as well. This is one of those spots that if it is bad weather, as much as you want to probably hang around and have a look, you'd need to get off it because it's very exposed. We had someone on our trip not long ago who was sort of starting to show signs of hypothermia, so we marched them quick smart down into the next hut. But yeah, it can get quite brutal up there, but if you get the good days, it's spectacular. If you get a day like this where it's still cold but still okay, you just get absolute spectacular views. It is hard to leave that spot on a nice day. So this is the trip that we had in April last year, I think it was. So we had a bit of snow. It was pretty cold. But yeah, we had a great group of people, really energetic. The lady on the left here, she'd just done a lap of Tassie a few months before that on a push bike with my auntie and uncle who run a business doing that. So she was well keen to get out on the track, and we had a great time. Small group, but lots and lots of fun. So this is Pillion Gap. So it's, as you can see, it's 1,113 metres above sea level. Mount Ossa's to the right, Mount Pillion East is to the left. So it's literally just a cross-section path where you can go either way. Mount Ossa is an incredible climb. Pillion's good as well, a little bit shorter than Ossa, but you still get the great views from there as well. So if you haven't got the time to go to Mount Ossa, definitely go to Pillion East. Again, just walking down in snow. There is boardwalk down here. It's all covered up in snow as well. Hence the reason I think walking poles are quite good as well, especially if you get conditions like that. You can sort of feel yourself away around the snow and feel where the board is and where the board isn't. September. Thanks, Flick. Not April. I thought we did autumn. Oh, that was the first time we did with you, wasn't it? Autumn. So this is Pillion East looking down from Kiora. I call this the nipple. It's got a really funny shape to it. But everywhere you look at it, it's just this pointy bit with this sort of nice curved bit off the edge there. Cool mountain to shoot. Sometimes, again, you get that open glow off the top of it as well. At the right time of year, it's really cool. I think this is a little video and I'm not a videographer by any stretch of the imagination, so these are just little happy videos I've done as we walk down. So that's Mount Ossa, the big one there. And I think that's all part of the Duquesne Range. The other night, Tom Putt asked me what that mountain was, a little funny knobby mountain. I think it's a part of the Duquesne Range. So this one here. But you get all these dead pencil pines as well, which have been destroyed by fire many years ago. Pencil pines and Kimberley pines don't regenerate after fire. They don't have the skills to do that, I suppose, or the ability to regenerate. They just die off, which is why things up at that altitude are so sensitive, and things. And another reason probably why it's a fuel only park and not any campfires or anything like that allowed. Was a good trip, Flick. This is on the way up to Mount Ossa. So if you're going to be a photographer and you want to go up to the tallest mountain in Tasmania and take photos, make sure you reset your camera from the night before when you've been doing astro, so you're not shooting everything at a really high ISO like this idiot here did, myself. So this is one of the best conditions I had up Mount Ossa, and I had the camera settings completely wrong. It's really grainy. You probably can't see it on your screen, but I don't like it. But this is looking sort of looking south. So Kiora, the hut's down here, but we're doing a side trip up Mount Ossa at the moment. Again, it's just spectacular scenery as you get higher and higher and higher. It gets more impressive as you go. Mount Ossa, though, can be a bit tricky. It's got 3 false tops to it, so you think you're up the top and you've got to go up again and then up again. But if you're making the effort to get up there, it is well worth it because the views are mind-blowing. So this is all part of the labyrinth and the Duquesne Range, and Mount Geryon, I think, is out here somewhere, and I think this is Frenchman's Cap over the back there, perhaps. Frenchman's Cap? Yeah, probably is Frenchman's Cap. But then if you look the other way, you've also got, this is looking straight back down again. It's just an amazing landscape up the top there. And if you look back the other way, here's Barn Bluff, here's Cradle Mountain. There's my mate Chris taking in the views. But it's just amazing views at the top. And you get phone reception up the top there as well, so if you want to check in from the top of Tassie, you can ring anyone, 4G, I think. More shots of Mount Pelion East, aka the Nipple. Bit of snow on it. This is looking from Kiora back up at Mount Ossa. So this is sort of down and getting towards the valley, towards the hut there. Again, this is on the way down to Kiora Hut with Mount Ossa on a nice day. It's a pretty spectacular mountain. But yeah, to get up to Mount Ossa, you sort of got to walk up around here, Mount Doris, and then down, then back up. And that little section there where the snow is, that's the spot you want to be careful of. If it's really heavy snow or really bad weather, it's not advisable to go up because you've got to go through this little notch there, which can be quite treacherous. Down at Kiora Hut, you get this at the back, right near the toilets actually, at the back you get this beautiful button grass little paddock there, and this little pandeni just stands in it. It's just dying to take a photo of it. But you get some beautiful morning light coming through as well. There's that pandeni again. And in the morning you get that beautiful glow on the back of the Duquesne Range there. Now the Duquesne Range, Duquesne, D-U-C-A-N-E, is where you're going to cross over. So that's the mountain range that you cross over to get onto the other side. Again, this difference between these two shots is only maybe 10 minutes. The sun's popped up, it's gone off that mountain, and it's now filtering into that little Pandeni area. And it gives us only a stone's throw from where your tent is. Probably one of the nicest toilets on the track. So this is what the toilets are like. All the toilets are drop pit, self-composing toilets. So usually they have at least 2 of them open, and they alternate sides as they fill up, and they get the choppers to come and empty them. It's a pretty straightforward system. The toilets, you can, like I said, you can put food scraps in there and stuff like that. That's all, and obviously your waste. And then you got to put like rice hubs. They put them on to help the breakdown of the matter in the decomposing. And then there's little water tanks and things like that. You need hand sanitizer to take. You need to take that with you. In this day and age, I think we're going to have that all the time now. I don't think there's going to be any issues where people don't have hand sanitizers. But yeah, it's a pretty cool spot. So this is at Kiora Hut. There's the boots. They're your lifeline along the way. Good boots make the track a lot better than bad boots or the wrong boots or not even wearing boots. We came across a guy a couple of years ago who had almost like work shoes on, looked like he was going for an office job, and they'd fallen apart, and he had them all tied up with zip ties. And strange unit, don't know what he was doing out there, that guy. He had a swag with him and all these things. He was totally unprepared, and he didn't even make it past Kitchen Hut. He made it back. His shoes just fell apart. So you need the right gear and the right shoes. There's no real brand preferred. I use Merrill, and I've used Aku before. What you want to do, though, you want to have good toe protection like those ones, and you want to also have good rubber soles. So there's a sole brand called Vibram, which is V-I-B-R-A-M. They've got a little yellow stamp on the bottom. That's probably the most wearable and durable and most grippy rubber soles you can get on boots. So if you're looking for boots, try and get some with those on the bottom of them. And they'll last you. I've done, like I said, I've gone through some boots, but most boots that last me a good, 4 or 5 decent years down that track. Yeah, that's it. The duct tape army boot guy. I don't know what he was doing. That was a strange moment. That was, and that's the thing on the track. You're in a group with your mates or us or whoever you're going with, but along the way you're sort of walking with groups of other people. So you're going to make friendships along the way, and you've got to be a little bit tolerant of people. There can be some funny people out there. There can be some really amazing people out there. But yeah, you got to be a bit tolerant. But the huts are good for eating meals. I don't like sleeping in the huts myself. I'd rather camp because they get really noisy and quite hot and quite smelly towards the end of the track with everyone in there. But they're a good little social hub to get to know people and exchange stories. And I think our groups always get a bit of attention because we're always lugging tripods and cameras around, and we're always out doing cool shots of things. So people like that. There you go, Paul. You're wearing duct tape boots. Yeah, zip tie. I don't know why and he asked me if I had zip ties. I'm like, dude, I don't carry zip ties. Here's Jason Stevens. So another, like I said, great photographer down here in Tassie. I think he's at Jason Stevens, might be his handle. Go look him up on Instagram. He's got some amazing stuff here. But just to give you an idea, there's no knock on Jason, but you can see all the little bugs hanging around him or flies, maybe because it was smelly by that time. But he's in the button grass area taking a shot of that pandeni. It's just a cool spot for photographers. Yeah, there is also a Kiora snorer. So in the Kiora hut, we had a group where there was a group of us sleeping in there, and we heard someone snoring. We didn't know who it was, but it ended up being one of our guides, and she's now known as the Kiora snorer. I've never heard noises like that come out of a female. It was quite impressive. I'll never forget that morning when the 2 old guys got up and they said, "Oh, was that you snoring?" I thought it might have been them. Like, no, it wasn't us. It was that girl up there. I'm like, oh, that's my friend. Okay. So, yeah, if you get in the huts, there's also little logbooks and little diaries and things like that people leave notes in there. So the Kiora Snore is in the book there. But always check each hut if you get into them. There's always some really cool stories. People write poems. They do beautiful pictures or little sketches of animals or plants or the mountains, and they're really quite cool. Yeah, that's true, Paul. If your backpack does break, zip ties are good. Probably should take a packet now. You mentioned that. These are just a pair of gaiters that were just saturated hanging out the front of the hut. The Kiora hut is probably one of the smallest huts on the track. So if you get to Kiora, after Pillion, you go from this sort of the grand Hilton of the track down to this little shack. It gets really busy in there, and I find it gets really smelly and moist in there, like lots of sweat and things. So if you can camp at Kiora, get yourself a campsite, and you might get yourself a view like that. So that's Cathedral Mountain, which, again, it's a bit like Ayers Rock. It sort of changes colour a bit as the sun goes down on it. But, yeah, it's some good campsites at Kiora. It's only a small little sort of stop along the way, but it's a beautiful little spot. Here's a little video. I think this is one of the groups I woke up in. I think this might be your tent, Luke, speaking of the palaces and Hiltons. But I think this might have been one of the wet days we had before we went into the next day of forests. Like I said, I'm not a videographer. Don't judge me. But there's nothing better than, I think, sleeping in a tent with a bit of rain on the roof. It's always pretty cool. But we had to get up, and the one thing about the Overland track, if you're walking it in season, is you have to move on each day. You can't skip days, and you have to move on each day. So even if you wake up and it's pouring down rain, you're moving on. You've got to get to the next thing because there's most likely another group of people coming from the day before are coming up to meet you as well. So you've got to walk through all conditions, and that's why you've got to be prepared. So it can be wet, it can be hot, it can be snow, it can be windy. You've got to be ready for everything. So day 5, getting there. Day 5 is Kiora Hut to Bert Nichols Hut. So this is what I call Forest and Waterfall Day. This is one of the cooler days of the trip. We've been seeing mountains the whole way and these beautiful vistas. Now we're into the forests and you get into all these waterfalls, and they're all thanks to the Mersey River, which runs through this section. The Mersey River's got probably a dozen waterfalls on it from start to finish, which are pretty spectacular. Again, it's a relatively short day, but we do have our last climb for today. So yesterday we had Pillion Gap, and then today we're going over Duquesne Gap. But we're walking through Duquesne, along the Duquesne Range and through the forests, which is pretty cool. Again, you can see, once again, we're in a forest now, so we're on more almost forest floor tracking, so a bit different to what we've had before. This is another day that if you're not great on your feet, grab out the walking poles, because it gets pretty slippery on the roots and the rocks and things like that. It can get a bit gnarly in spots. Smelly and moist, great way to sell camping in tents over the huts. Well, I think so. Yeah, I would. I sleep in tents the whole way. But if I could give you a tip on all the huts, Kiora is the one you probably want to dodge. The others are generally okay. And Waterfall Valley, they're actually just doing the hut again. So there's going to be a brand new hut there, pretty much at the start of this season coming up. So you want to try and avoid Kiora. At least try and camp. That's something I also say to people. If you're going to carry a tent for 6 days and it's going to cost you 2 kilos or so of weight, use the bloody thing at least once. Set up, camp under it, enjoy it. So you shouldn't take anything on this track that you don't use at least once. This is some of the old boardwalk that you get through forest as well. You can see the forest floor and starting to rot a bit. Some of those platforms move, some of them roll, so you just got to be careful. That's why the walking poles on this day is quite good. This is coming into the old Duquesne hut. So the Overland track was sort of not designed, but sort of established in 2 sections. So from the north, from Cradle Mountain down to around about sort of Pillion, was mostly explored by the early people that are exploring the region. So people such as Gustav Weindorfer, who was one of the established guys who established the park. Obviously, the indigenous people of the land would have been all through this land for thousands of years. But the top end was more sort of exploring and tourism and type of, people just exploring the area, where the southern half, or from Lake Sinclair up to sort of this area, it was all trappers. So they were hunting and trapping for furs, for wombats and wallabies and things like that. So this Duquesne hut is an old historic trapper's hut. It's really quite cool. Gives you a real glimpse of how they used to sort of survive out there for weeks on end when they were hunting. But you can see this is the same hut, 2 different trips. One's snowy and muddy, and the other one's quite good. This is the old track. It makes for a great photo. This whole beautiful, beautiful hut as well. Correct, Flick. Tents are warmer, more comfier, and they don't have any snorers in them. Again, we're in the forest today, and the forests in this section are probably the best forest on the walk. You go along the Mersey River below the Duquesne Range, and you just get these beautiful trees of all types of trees: the myrtles, the pentel pines, and the sassafrasses. Everything's in there, and you get these just beautiful long sections of track with just all trees around it. It's beautiful. Good example, you can see there's a bit of the boardwalk down the bottom, which is just a log that's split in half that they've made. But you're sort of making your way, trudging through. Depending on when you go on the Overland track as well, if it's, check the weather out before you go, obviously, but keep an eye on the weather leading up to the track as well. So if there's been a lot of big wind or big windy days in Tassie, this is the sort of day that you might get a lot of trees across the track. So you've got to be prepared to sometimes go off track a little bit and go around these fallen trees. But I always make sure I sort of check that before I leave. A bit of an expectation, okay, we're going to get to one point where there might be a lot of down trees. And on this trip, there was thousands of down trees. We reported it to Parks on the way down. The trip we were on here was just out of season, I think. So it's just before the start of the season, sorry, and there'd been a lot of snowstorms and stuff over the winter. So we reported it to make sure they were aware of it. And to their credit, they cleaned it up very, very quickly. This is the turn-off before you go to Ferguson Falls and Dalton Falls, or you head back up to keep going to the Duquesne Gap and also to Hartnett Falls. The waterfalls are a must. There's signs there for a reason. They have to be visited. They are pretty spectacular. You can see there, this is the forest area. Again, this is sort of what you're walking on all day. These routes can be quite slippery and deadly. So if you're sort of worried about knees and ankles, definitely walking poles is something you need to invest in to get you through at least this day. They'll be worth their weight in gold. A happy camper. She had a poncho because it was lightweight. Didn't really do much to keep her dry, but it looked pretty funny, so I took a photo of her. That's Danielle, who good friend. Looking down into Ferguson Falls, or a bit of a different angle of it, just with the sun rays coming through. We call them sun rays on my trips. We don't call them God rays. Just for anyone who might be watching who thinks they're called God rays, photographers call them sun rays. I do. That's an in-joke that no one's going to get apart from a couple. This is Dalton Falls or Dalton Falls. If you're going to go down to Dalton Falls, it is a bit of a climb down to get to them. They're definitely worth it. You've got to do it. But just be very, very careful when you get to Dalton Falls. There's no barrier on the edge of this cliff down here. And if you fall in there, you're not getting out. You're coming out in a different way. It's a deadly fall. So don't be overconfident getting there. No photo is worth getting right to the edge of, as far as I'm concerned. And I make sure my groups, we keep our distance. But there's always someone in other groups that you see sort of sliding along this ledgeway here. This is what they look like in beautiful falls. So they're pretty nice. They can be. I've never been there where they haven't been flowing. This is it's like a cauldron that comes out of Ferguson Falls. This little sort of slot of water. Here's another video that I think I might have almost dropped my camera in. But it's just this little tiny little chute of water that runs into the side of Dalton Falls. But this is the kind of forest that you're sort of working with. Got some beautiful little sections of mossy green. You've got some beautiful fungi. Depending on what time of year you go, some of the fungi along this track is pretty incredible. So almost this time of year is a good time for fungi. Anywhere sort of April, May, you get some really nice stuff. And just looking up, that's pretty much your view up for most of the day on this day 5. It's a really nice part of the forest. Tom Putt, who did his little presentation the other night, took a photo from the top of this, and it actually reminded me that, hey, I actually put clients out there once. So this is the top of Hartnett Falls, which is an incredible falls. Just drops down into that big gorge there. These guys are both actually SES rescue guys from New South Wales. So they were quite competent on rocks and safety and things like that. So I was happy to let them go along, but they took some shots from the very top. So that's the top of Hartnett Falls, and this is down the bottom of Hartnett Falls. So these guys are up the top here. It's a beautiful waterfall. This is on one of the snow trips, so we had a lot of water coming down there. It was quite difficult to get a shot without all the water droplets on your camera. But one of my guests hiked up there or just walked up the side there and got his shot that he wanted. That's the thing we do on our trips is safety first, of course. But being a photography trip, the majority of the time it's a photography trip, we're happy to sort of make sure people get the shots they want within reason. If this was in full flood, we wouldn't let them go up there. But we're always, only a cooey away from where they are. We don't let people wander off on their own on this track because you can get yourself in a bit of trouble. And as you walk through the forest, it's not all these big waterfalls. It's all these little rivulets that come down, and they make for some beautiful little shots, especially the green mossy colour. Again, you can just sort of drink straight out of these, so you don't have to worry about running out of water on this trip. Each hut has water tanks. That's pure rainwater, but along the way you've also got plenty of rivers and streams and stuff to pull out of. Again, just little things. These are just as you walk along, you just see these little things that pop up. If it's raining or it's been raining or a bit of snow melt, you'll get these waterfalls that are there one year and then the next year they're just a little trickle. This is one of my favourite trees on the track. This is as you come into Burt Nichols, as you've come over the Decane Range. We've walked up the big top hill, which is mostly boardwalk up Decane Range. They've done a lot of work up there as well in track works. But when you get over the other side, you go from this dry eucalypt forest straight into this Pandani wet forest, and this tree always catches my eyes. And that's actually not the track. You walk past this on your right, so it looks like there is a track down there. I've never explored it, but it's just the way this tree looks. It just always catches my eye. And then just little details. I thought this thing looked like a stork, a little bird or something like that in the tree, but there's always these little details you can capture along the way. So if you are a photographer, like I said, just look for the details and patterns. So this is at Burt Nichols Hut. So Burt Nichols Hut, you're looking pretty much into Pine Valley or the other side of Pine Valley, and you've got Mount Geryon and a few others all sort of rimming the outside of where you're looking there. Burt Nichols is a huge hut. It's up until now it was the newest hut. It's got 4 rooms upstairs with huge bunks. Again, it can get very cold though. It's got a huge dining area, big water tanks, and it's really quite nice to look at. But it can be quite cold in there. And if you've got a snorer or someone like that, it can get a bit noisy because it does echo a lot up the top there. But having said that, our commercial platforms at this spot are also quite cool and damp. So sometimes it's a bit of a toss-up where you camp, or if you camp, or whether or not you stay in the hut as well. So that's end of day 5. So we've got to Burt Nichols through that beautiful forest and all the waterfalls. So pretty much day 6 is celebrate time. You've pretty much got 9 kilometres, as you can see, from Burt Nichols, or Windy Ridge, as it was previously known, all the way down to Narcissus Hut. And it's 9 Ks of mostly downhill, gentle downhill. You wouldn't even say there's any hills on this section of the day. 9 Ks to get to the boat to finish your trip off. It's a good feeling. That's the view from Burt Nichols in the morning. So that's one of the big mountains that are straight outside the hut. Again, depending on what time of year there, you can have that covered in the Fagus, which is the beautiful yellows and orange, or you can actually get there and it's covered in snow. So that's Mount Geryon with all the snow on it. Again, just these spectacular jagged mountains that you've been seeing for the last 5 days. They don't stop. They continue on as you get down to Lake St Clair. Or of the track, you get some really nice forest sections on the way out as well. Like I said, it's party time pretty much on day 6. You've got 9 Ks to go. You're probably pushing 3 hours to get down there. Everyone's getting on really well. They've all had a great time. Your packs are light. Your legs are strong. You've got no food left probably. We had a group, the dad and the 2 daughters that came along. One of the girls in there, she kept 5 Snickers bars for everyone till the very last day. She hit them, and her sister was trying to raid her pack every day trying to find these Snickers. So on the last night, she handed out all these Snickers to everyone. It was like, if Snickers bars, they were amazing. Nothing better than that after 5 days on the track. As you get towards Lake St Clair, you pop out and there's more mountains. So you've gone through some dry forest, and it's pretty straightforward getting down to the end here. Once you start hitting the boardwalk near Lake St Clair or Narcissus Hut, you're getting towards the end. That's Mount Olympus in the background, another beautiful mountain. There's more mountains out to the right, and there's also more mountains out to the left as you're walking here. But once you get to that boardwalk and the button grass, you're getting close to the end, and your adrenaline starts to kick over because you've practically finished the track. Again, it just keeps moving, keeps going towards that mountain. The end point that I find for me, as someone who's done it so many times, is there's a swing bridge that goes across the Narcissus River. And to me, that's almost like the official finish line, even though it's a good kilometre or so from the hut. But once you start, you can actually see the poles, the suspension bridge poles, pop out. And once I see them, I'm feeling pretty good about myself that we've got another trip done and got people safely through, and taking them through the best office in the world. This is the dude that the dad who on the last day he's got his rain pants pulled down. There's a specific reason why he had them pulled down, is because that last day he had something that didn't agree with him. So whether or not it was the water or something he'd eaten. So he had a lot of stops where he had his pants down most of the time. And being a guide, we're not allowed to leave people behind, so I always had to sort of wait around for this poor guy. But he got to the end, and he was pretty damn happy that he'd made it to the bridge. There's always a celebration at the bridge, and there's always some funny shit that happens there. So once you get pretty much to Narcissus Hut, you've only got one little section to go, and that's to get to the ferry. So usually the next morning, so we usually camp at Narcissus Hut that night. There has been some times where we've done a bolt straight to the boat on day 5 to get there earlier, but the booking system is a bit different now, so you need to sort of camp at Narcissus Hut and get through. But it's worth waiting at Narcissus Hut because there's a beautiful river, good views, and in the morning, you get some beautiful shots heading down to the pier. So the jetty is the official finish line of the track. That's where it stops. They've actually put a big sunshade up over there now and some seats on the end of that jetty down here. So certainly improved a bit more from when we did it this time. And on a good morning, Lake St Clair is just spectacular. If you're on a really good morning here and you're sitting there waiting for the boat, keep quiet because guaranteed there is a resident platypus out to the left here. He's always swimming up and down without fail. I don't think I've ever not seen him out off this pier. There's a bit of an old map there. It sort of shows where you've walked, so Cradle Mountain all the way through to Lake St Clair here. It shows you the Franklin River. So it's pretty much the whole World Heritage Area. So this whole walk you've done is through the heartland of the World Heritage Area, which in terms of World Heritage Area, there's only one other place in the world that ticks more boxes for significance culturally and naturally for World Heritage Area. That's a national park in China. The one here in Tassie is second on the list, and it ticked 9 out of 10 boxes for significance. So you've just walked through one of the most significant World Heritage Areas in the world, and you'll know why once you've done the walk. If that doesn't make you feel good about yourself, then I don't know what will. As you're waiting for the boat, there's always some beautiful shots in the morning of all these mountains around. Nice little bit of fog that lifts off the lake in the morning. There's always something nice to shoot. And I always get a bit sad when I'm on the boat. So this is on the way off the boat. You sort of look back and you can see the whole sort of park and a big line of mountains. It's like this big area you just walk through. It's like the gateway if you're coming the other way. Be the gateway into the national park. But the boat ride back is good. You drop your packs. You're sitting on a cushioned boat on a pillow. You're having probably leftover bits of whatever food you had left. You've got about sort of 20 to 30 minute boat ride back to the Lake Sinclair Visitor Centre, where you need to check in with Michael, who runs the Lake Sinclair Visitor Centre there. He's got some amazing beers on tap and scotches and gins that he's been making himself. And he's a photographer too, amazing photographer. So check in with him when you get back there. And usually you get back to the Lake Sinclair Lodge and you'll have your first cooked breakfast. It's not unusual to have a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning after you get off the boat. That happens a lot in our groups. This is the group that we had. Again, this is to do with his pants down and his daughters. They were all right, that family. But this is one of the coldest trips we did. There's good old Luke. I don't know if he's still tuning in there, but he's the only one being normal, Luke. It's unusual for you. But we had a great time, and we got to the end. They got through it all, and so we made it from one side to the other, and yeah, everyone was pretty happy with that one. So that's pretty much the presentation. I'll just go through a few other little things there, just about what I do and what to expect. So I do the photo tour, so that you don't have to be a photographer to come on my tours. You can just be someone who wants to do the track. You can do it yourself, obviously, or with a group of friends. I always say, look, if you can have someone guide you along and supply you with most of the gear and take a lot of the hard work out for you, then why not? Our tours go for 6 days. Like I said, equipment can be supplied if you need it. We do transfers to and from the start of the track, so pick you up in Launceston, drop you back in Hobart. If you want to learn photography from professional photographers, along the way you'll have 2 of them to bounce off and learn. Like I said, you can just come and walk the track with experienced guides and experience for yourself. We do small groups, up to 6 people. We can do bigger. We can go up to a group of 12 if need be, but I like to try and keep the group sort of 6 or so just to be good. That's the price down the bottom. That covers a lot of things. It's a bit hard to go over in time now, but if you are interested, definitely let us know. But one of the most famous Australian photographers, Peter Dombrowski, used to say, when you go out there, you don't get away from it all. You get back to it all. You come home to what's important. You come home to yourself, and that rings so true when you're out on the Overland track. It's if you haven't done much hiking before, or you've never sort of been out in the wilderness on your own before, or away from your family for a few days, then it's a different feeling that you can't really describe. But it's sort of like a relaxed feeling, but in a different sort of way. So it's the sort of thing that makes you sort of look inside a bit more and think of things that are important and enjoy what's in life. Okay, so that's the end of it. Thank you. If you'd like any further information about what I do, just drop me an email, cam@tasphoto.com.au, or you can check the website out. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope that's only gone for about an hour and a half, which is pretty good. Like I said, if you're keen to go, feel free to shoot me a message or send me an email. There's no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to the Overland track. So if you're not sure you can do it, or you'd like to do it but you're unsure, or you're not sure how to get it organised, I'm more than happy to help. Even if you're not looking to come with us, if you're doing it with some friends and you want some tips before you go, or some photo spots on the way, just look me up and we can get it all done. But thank you for tuning in. I hope you had fun watching it, and hopefully we'll see you out in the track sometime. All right, have a great night, everyone. Cheers.